Kate Morrison stood at the window of her ship and looked out at the stars. She had never seen anything like this before. Thousands of alien ships floated in space around the massive station called Nexus Prime. Each ship was different. Some looked like metal flowers. Others were shaped like giant crystals. A few looked like nothing she could name. "First time seeing the Council Station?" asked Captain Ryan Blake as he walked up behind her. Kate nodded. "It's amazing. Hard to believe humans are finally here." Ryan smiled, but Kate could see worry in his eyes. 300 years we've been trying to join them. Now we're here, and I'm not sure what to think. The human ship called Terra's Voice was small compared to the alien vessels around it. Kate felt like a child among giants, but she was here for a reason. She was Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Council. "Tell me again about this oldest rule," Kate said as they walked toward the shuttle bay. Ryan's face grew serious. "It's the most important law in the galaxy. Every species follows it. No one attacks civilians. No one hurts children. No one targets innocent people during wars. Break that rule, and every other species will turn against you." "How long is this rule existed?" 50,000 years, maybe more. The aliens say it's what separates civilized beings from monsters. Kate thought about this as their shuttle flew toward the giant station. Earth had its own rules about war, but they were often broken. Maybe alien species were better at following their laws. The shuttle docked at Nexus Prime, and Kate stepped into a world unlike anything on Earth. The halls were huge, built for creatures much larger than humans. The air smelled strange, like metal and flowers mixed together. Aliens walked, floated, and crawled past them in every direction. A tall, blue-skinned creature approached them. It had 4 arms and eyes that glowed like stars. "Ambassador Morrison," it said in perfect English. "I am Council Speaker Zenth. Welcome to Nexus Prime." Kate tried not to stare at the alien's strange appearance. "Thank you, Speaker Zenth. We're honored to be here. Come. The Council waits to hear from your species." They walked through corridors filled with wonders. Kate saw aliens that looked like walking trees, others that seemed to be made of living light, and creatures covered in scales that changed color as they moved. Music that sounded like wind chimes filled the air. "Your species is young," Speaker Zenth said as they walked. "Most council members have been traveling the stars for thousands of years, some for millions. You must understand that earning trust takes time." "We understand," Kate replied. "Humans are ready to learn." The council chamber was enormous. Hundreds of alien beings sat in curved rows around a central platform. Some floated in tanks of liquid. Others hung from the ceiling like bats. A few looked almost human, but with small differences that made Kate feel strange. Speaker Zenth led Kate to the center platform. "Members of the council," his voice boomed through the chamber. "Today we hear from the humans of Earth. Ambassador, Kate Morrison will speak for her people." Kate's heart pounded as hundreds of alien eyes focused on her. She had practiced this speech for months, but now the words felt small and weak. "Honored council members," she began. "Humans come before you in peace. We seek to learn from your wisdom and add our voice to the great harmony of galactic civilization." She spoke about Earth's history, both good and bad. She talked about human wars and human peace. She explained how her people had learned to work together despite their differences. When she finished, a creature that looked like a giant insect spoke up. "Humans are a violent species. Your wars are legendary, even among young civilizations. Why should we trust you?" Kate had expected this question. "Because we learned from our mistakes. We know the cost of violence. That's why we respect your oldest rules so deeply. Protecting innocent lives is the most important thing any species can do." A being made of living crystal chimed in with a voice like breaking glass. "The oldest rule has kept peace for 50 millennia. Every species here has sworn to uphold it. Will humans do the same?" "Yes," Kate said without hesitation. "Humans swear to protect civilian lives of all species. We will never break the oldest rule." Murmurs filled the chamber. Speaker Zenth raised one of his 4 hands for silence. "A council will consider your words, Ambassador Morrison. For now, you may observe our proceedings." Kate took a seat in the observer section. Ryan Blake sat beside her, both of them watching as the council discussed matters from across the galaxy. Trade disputes, territorial agreements, scientific discoveries. Everything was handled with careful discussion and ancient procedures. "Look there," Ryan whispered, pointing to a group of reptilian aliens near the front of the chamber. "Those are Zephyrians. They've been expanding their territory lately. Some of our outer colonies have reported seeing their ships." Kate studied. The Zephyrians. They were tall and covered in dark scales. Their eyes were cold and calculating. The one in the center wore elaborate armor and sat perfectly still, like a statue. "They don't look friendly," Kate whispered back. "High Commander Vex High," Ryan said quietly. "He's their military leader. Word is he thinks humans are expanding too fast into their space." Kate felt a chill run down her spine, but she pushed the feeling away. This was a place of peace and law. The oldest rule protected everyone here. Surely even the cold-looking Zephyrians would follow such an important law. The day's session ended with formal ceremonies. Kate shook hands, claws, tentacles, and other appendages with dozens of alien representatives. Many seemed genuinely interested in learning about humanity. Others remained polite but distant as they returned to their ship. Kate felt hopeful. "I think it went well," she told Ryan. "Maybe," he replied, but his expression remained worried. "Just remember, we're the new kids here. It'll take time to prove ourselves." That night, Kate stood again at her ship's window, looking out at the alien vessels around Nexus Prime. Somewhere out there, beyond the peaceful glow of the station, human colonies were building new lives among the stars. Families were raising children. Farmers were growing crops. Teachers were educating the next generation. Kate smiled as she thought about the future. Humans had finally found their place in the galaxy. They would follow the oldest rule, protect innocent lives, and build a better tomorrow alongside their new alien friends. She had no way of knowing that in a distant part of space, Zephyrian warships were already moving toward peaceful human world called New Haven. She couldn't imagine that High Commander Vex High was planning something that would change everything. For now, Kate Morrison believed in the power of law and the safety of civilization. Tomorrow, she would begin learning just how fragile both could be. Lisa Parker woke up to the sound of children laughing outside her window. She smiled as she got dressed for another day on New Haven. The colony was her life's work, and every morning brought new joy. New Haven was not like the big cities on Earth. It was peaceful and green, with farms stretching to the horizon. The air was clean and sweet. 200,000 humans had made this world their home, and 50,000 of them were children. Lisa walked to her office in the colony's main building. People waved and called out greetings as she passed. Mrs. Johnson was tending her vegetable garden. Mr. Smith was fixing a fence while his 2 young sons helped. Everything was normal and good. "Morning, Lisa," called Dr. Alex Turner from across the street. He was walking toward the medical center with his wife Maria. Both of them were smiling. "Good morning, Alex. How are the kids at the orphanage?" Lisa asked, growing fast. Alex laughed. "We have 23 children there now, from all over human space. Some lost their parents in accidents. Others were abandoned. But they're all happy here." Maria Turner nodded. And my students are doing wonderful things. We have 12 alien exchange students this term. The children are learning so much from each other. Lisa felt proud as she watched the couple walk away. New Haven was more than just a colony. It was a symbol of what humans could build when they worked together. It was a place where children could grow up safe and love. At her office, Lisa checked the daily reports. The farms were producing record crops. The schools were full and happy. The medical center was treating normal illnesses and injuries. Crime was almost zero. New Haven was everything a human colony should be. "Lisa, we have a message from Earth," said her assistant, Tom Brown. "The council meetings are going well. Ambassador Morrison thinks we might get full membership soon." Lisa smiled. "That's wonderful news. Maybe our children will grow up in a galaxy where humans are truly welcome." She spent the morning reviewing plans for a new playground and a larger library. In the afternoon, she would visit the schools to see how the alien exchange program was working. Life on New Haven was simple, but it was good. At the medical center, Dr. Alex Turner was checking on a patient when his wife Maria arrived for lunch. She looked excited about something. "Alex, you should see what the children did today," she said. "They made a friendship wall with pictures and messages from every species in the galaxy. The Zephyrian student, young Keshta, drew the most beautiful picture of her homeworld." Alex hugged his wife. "You're changing the galaxy, one child at a time." "We all are," Maria replied. "These children will grow up without the old fears and hatreds. They'll make the galaxy a better place." After lunch, Alex returned to his work at the orphanage. The 23 children there had come from difficult backgrounds, but New Haven had given them hope. He watched them play in the garden, their laughter filling the air. "Dr. Turner," called 8-year-old Jenny Walsh, "look what I made." She held up a clay sculpture of a spaceship. "When I grow up, I want to visit other worlds and help sick aliens." Alex knelt down to examine her work. "That's beautiful, Jenny. I'm sure you'll be a wonderful doctor someday." "Will the alien children like me?" Jenny asked. "They'll love you," Alex promised, "just like we do." Meanwhile, Maria was teaching her afternoon class. 30 human children sat alongside 12 young aliens of different species. They were learning about galactic history and the importance of cooperation. "Can anyone tell me about the oldest rule?" Maria asked. A 10-year-old boy named Peter raised his hand. "It says we can never hurt innocent people. All the grown-ups in the galaxy follow it." "That's right, Peter. And why is this rule important?" A young Altarian student, whose skin was blue and sparkled like starlight, spoke up in careful English. "Because protecting children and families is what good people do. It makes everyone safe." Maria smiled. "Exactly. The oldest rule helps all species live together in peace." As evening approached, Lisa Parker was finishing her daily walk around the colony. She loved these quiet moments when she could see the life they had built. Families were eating dinner together. Children were playing in their yards. Teenagers were studying for their exams. She stopped at the communication center to send her daily report to Earth. "New Haven Colony, day 2847. She spoke into the recorder. "All systems normal. Population healthy and happy. Crop yields exceeding expectations. Educational programs successful. No security concerns. Life is good here." She was about to end the recording when Tom Brown burst into the room. His face was white with fear. "Lisa, sensors are picking up ships approaching the system. Big ships, military ships." Lisa's heart skipped a beat. "Whose ships?" "Zephyrian," Tom said quietly. "A whole fleet." Lisa ran to the sensor station. The screen showed dozens of massive warships approaching New Haven. They were still far away, but moving fast. "Try to contact them," Lisa ordered. Find out what they want. Tom worked at the communications panel. After a few minutes, he shook his head. They're not responding to any messages. Maybe they're just passing through, Lisa said, but her voice shook. Lisa, Tom said softly, they're targeting our cities. The words hit Lisa like a physical blow. That's impossible. New Haven is a civilian colony. We have no military bases, no weapons, just families and farms. I'm reading weapons charging, Tom reported. Multiple ships are preparing to fire. Lisa grabbed the emergency communicator. Her hands shook as she opened channels to the entire colony. All residents, this is Administrator Parker. We have unknown ships in the system. As a precaution, please move to the emergency shelters immediately. But even as she spoke, Lisa knew the truth. New Haven had no real shelters. No weapons. No way to fight back. They had never needed them before. Get me a connection to Earth, she ordered. Emergency priority. The connection crackled to life. This is New Haven Colony to Earth Command. We are under attack by Zephyrian forces. Request immediate assistance. We are a civilian target with no military value. They are violating the oldest rule. Across the colony, families were running toward the small emergency buildings. But the shelters were meant for storms, not military attacks. Dr. Turner gathered the orphanage children and tried to calm their fears. Maria Turner locked down her school and held her young students close. Lisa, Tom's voice was breaking. They're firing. Through the window, Lisa saw lights in the sky. Beautiful, terrible lights that grew brighter as they fell toward New Haven. The first explosions came from the direction of the school district. Maria, Lisa whispered. The ground shook under her feet. More lights fell from the sky. The medical center erupted in flames. The orphanage disappeared in a ball of fire. The communication center's windows shattered. Earth Command, this is New Haven, Lisa shouted into her communicator. They're targeting civilians. Schools, hospitals, homes. They're killing children. The Zephyrians are breaking the oldest rule. An explosion nearby knocked her to the floor. When she looked up, Tom was gone. The communication equipment was destroyed. Smoke filled the room. Lisa crawled to the emergency transmitter. With her last strength, she activated it and spoke into the recorder. This is Administrator Lisa Parker of New Haven Colony. The Zephyrians have attacked our civilian population without warning or cause. They have murdered innocent families and children. They have broken the most sacred law in the galaxy. Tell the universe what happened here. Make them remember New Haven. The building collapsed around her as another explosion tore through the colony center. In the distance, she could hear the screams of the dying and the laughter of alien voices. Celebrating their victory. By morning, New Haven was silent. 200,000 humans were dead. 50,000 children would never grow up. Dr. Alex Turner had died protecting his orphans. Maria Turner had fallen shielding her students. The alien exchange students had burned alongside their human friends. High Commander Vexhai stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked down at the smoking ruins. Inform the Council that the humans violated our territorial agreements, he ordered. We were forced to take defensive action. Sir? One of his officers said quietly. This was a civilian colony. The oldest rule applies to civilized species, Vexhai replied coldly. Humans are a disease. Today we began the cure. As the Zephyrian fleet left the dead world behind, the universe itself seemed to hold its breath. The oldest rule had been broken. Innocent blood had been spilled. Children had been murdered. Somewhere in the galaxy, humanity was about to learn what had happened to New Haven. And when they did, nothing would ever be the same again. Admiral Jack Sullivan was drinking his morning coffee when the message arrived. He was sitting in his office at Luna Command, watching Earth rise over the moon's horizon. It was a peaceful moment before the storm. Admiral, his aide lieutenant, Kelly Watson, rushed into the room. Emergency transmission from New Haven Colony. Jack set down his coffee cup. Put it through. Lisa Parker's voice filled the room, broken and desperate. This is New Haven Colony to Earth Command. We are under attack by Zephyrian forces. Request immediate assistance. We are a civilian target with no military value. They are violating the oldest rule. Then came explosions, screaming, Lisa's final words about murdered children. Then silence. Jack stared at the communication panel for a long moment. He had a nephew on New Haven, 8-year-old Billy Sullivan, who sent him drawings of spaceships every month. Billy would have been in school when the attack came. "Sir," Lieutenant Watson said quietly, "get me President Rodriguez. Emergency priority." Jack's voice was deadly calm. Within minutes, President Elena Rodriguez appeared on the screen. "Admiral, I've heard the reports. How bad is it?" "New Haven is gone, Madam President. 200,000 civilians dead. 50,000 children." Jack's hands clenched into fists. The Zephyrians deliberately targeted schools and hospitals first. The president's face went white. "My God, the oldest rule has been broken. What are your orders?" President Rodriguez was quiet for a moment. "The council will demand investigations, hearings, diplomatic protests. That could take years." "Years won't bring back those children," Jack said. "I know, but we have to follow proper procedures. We can't just ... "Madam President," Jack interrupted, "my nephew was on New Haven. He was 8 years old. He wanted to be a spaceship pilot when he grew up." The president closed her eyes. "I'm sorry, Jack. I'm so sorry. But we have to be smart about this." After the call ended, Jack sat alone in his office. Through his window, he could see the human fleet docked at Luna Station. Ships built for exploration and defense, not for vengeance. But maybe it was time to change that thought. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in." Captain Maya Chun entered the room. She commanded the stealth ship Shadow, one of the most advanced vessels in the human fleet. "Admiral, I heard about New Haven. I want to volunteer for a reconnaissance mission." "That's not your decision to make, Captain." "With respect, sir, yes it is. My crew and I are ready to go into Zephyrian space. We need to know if this was an isolated attack or part of something bigger." Jack studied the young captain. Maya Chun was one of the best officers in the fleet. She was also known for taking risks that other captains wouldn't dare. "It would be a suicide mission. If the Zephyrians catch you... They won't catch us. The Shadow is the best stealth ship ever built, and we need to know the truth." Jack was quiet for a moment. Then he activated his secure communication system. "This conversation never happened. Understood?" "Understood, sir. Take a small crew, people you trust completely. Get in, find out what the Zephyrians are planning, and get out. Do not engage enemy forces under any circumstances." "Yes, sir." "Thank you, sir." After Maya left, Jack began making other preparations. He sent coded messages to ship captains across the fleet. He reviewed battle plans that had been gathering dust. He studied everything humanity knew about Zephyrian military tactics. President Rodriguez would demand he follow diplomatic channels. The Galactic Council would want meetings and investigations. But Jack Sullivan had not become admiral by waiting for politicians to make hard decisions. 2 days later, the Shadow slipped away from Luna Station on what the records called a routine patrol mission. Captain Maya Chun's crew consisted of only 5 people. Sergeant Paul Rodriguez, the president's son who had joined the military against her wishes. Tech specialist Amy Foster, who had been off-world when New Haven died. Engineer Danny Walsh, whose sister had taught at the colony school. Navigator Beth Taylor, who had lost 3 cousins in the attack. And Communications Officer Frank Moore, who had been Lisa Parker's friend since academy days. "All right, people," Maya said as they entered hyperspace. "This is not a military mission. Officially, we're just looking around. Unofficially, we need to know if New Haven was the beginning or the end." The shadow was invisible to most sensors. It could slip past enemy defenses like a ghost. For 3 days, they traveled through Zephyrian space, listening to communications and watching fleet movements. What they found was worse than anyone had imagined. "Captain," Amy Foster called from her station, "I'm picking up coded transmissions between Zephyrian fleet commanders. They're talking about Phase 2 of something called Human Reduction Protocol. Can you break the codes?" "Working on it." Amy's fingers flew over her controls. "Got it. Captain, you need to hear this." The translated Zephyrian voices filled the bridge. New Haven test was successful. Human response is predicted. Council will protest, but take no action. Begin systematic. Elimination of outer colonies. Priority targets. Family settlements, educational centers, agricultural worlds. Maya felt sick. They're planning genocide. "There's more," Amy said. "They've identified 12 human colonies for immediate attack. All civilian targets. All defenseless." "Sergeant." Paul Rodriguez spoke up. "My mother needs to know about this." "We all need to know," Maya replied. "But first, we need proof that will stand up in any court or council hearing." They spent another day gathering evidence. Video recordings of Zephyrian fleet movements. Intercepted military orders. Communications between High Commander Vex High and his subordinates discussing the human problem. The most damning evidence came from a hidden recording device that Amy managed to place on a Zephyrian command ship. The voices were clear and cold. "The council species are weak," Vex High said. "They will make speeches and hold hearings, but they will do nothing. Humans expand too quickly. They breed too fast. They ask too many questions. Better to eliminate them now while they are still small." "What about the oldest rule?" Another voice asked. "The oldest rule protects civilized species. Humans are animals. Dangerous animals. The galaxy will thank us for removing this threat." Maya had heard enough. "Danny, plot a course back to human space. Maximum speed." "Captain," Beth Taylor said from the navigation station, "I'm reading Zephyrian ships moving toward the human colony of Riverside. 36 warships. How long until they arrive?" 18 hours. Maya made a decision that would change everything. "Frank, send a coded message to Admiral Sullivan. Tell him what we found. Tell him about Riverside. Tell him the Zephyrians plan to murder every human civilian they can find." "Yes, Captain." "Amy, prepare all our evidence for transmission. Everything. The galaxy needs to know what's really happening." As the shadow raced back toward human space, Maya thought about the children on Riverside Colony. Innocent kids who were playing and learning and dreaming about the future. Kids who would be dead by tomorrow if someone didn't stop the Zephyrians. She thought about New Haven and the 50,000 children who had already died. She thought about the oldest rule and how easily it had been broken. She thought about the Galactic Council and their endless meetings while people were being murdered. Most of all, she thought about Admiral Sullivan and the look in his eyes when he learned about his nephew. Maya had a feeling that humanity was about to remind the galaxy why Earth had once been called the most dangerous world in known space. "Frank, send one more message," she ordered. "Yes, Captain?" "Tell the Admiral that the Zephyrians think we're just another council species. They think we'll protest and investigate and do nothing while they murder our children." Maya's voice was cold as space itself. Tell him they're about to learn what happens when you threaten a human's family. Behind them, Zephyrian warships moved toward Riverside Colony. Ahead of them, Admiral Jack Sullivan received their messages and began issuing orders that would shake the galaxy. The age of human diplomacy was ending. The age of human vengeance was about to begin. The Zephyrian fleet arrived at Riverside Colony, expecting another easy victory. High Commander Vex High watched from his flagship as his ships moved into attack formation. Below them, the human colony looked peaceful and defenseless. "Begin orbital bombardment," Vex High ordered. "Target the population centers first." "Sir," his weapons officer said, "I'm reading unknown contacts approaching from the outer system. Impossible. Our scouts reported no human military presence here." The contacts resolved on their screens. Human warships, dozens of them, moving faster than any Zephyrian had ever seen human ships move. Leading the fleet was a massive battlecruiser that broadcast a simple message. "This is Admiral Jack Sullivan of the Human Defense Force. You have violated the oldest rule. You have murdered innocent civilians. You have 30 seconds to surrender, or we will destroy you." Vex High laughed. "Humans think they can threaten." U.S. opened fire on their fleet. What happened next changed galactic warfare forever. The human ships moved like dancers, each one perfectly coordinated with the others. They didn't charge straight into battle like other species. Instead, they used tactics that confused and overwhelmed the Zephyrians. Captain Tony Harris commanded the battle cruiser Vengeance. His ship had been designed to fight the way humans had always fought at sea, fast, smart, and deadly. While Zephyrian ships were larger and more heavily armed, human ships were quicker and more maneuverable. All ships execute Pattern Alpha. Admiral Sullivan ordered from his command center on Luna Base. The human fleet split into smaller groups that attacked from multiple directions. The Zephyrians found themselves shooting at targets that weren't there anymore. Human ships would appear, fire devastating volleys, then disappear before the enemy could respond. Lieutenant Commander Rebecca Lee led a squadron of fighter craft that moved like angry wasps around the massive Zephyrian ships. Her pilots had trained for this moment their whole lives, and their fury gave them strength. "Remember New Haven," she broadcast to her squadron. "Make them pay for every child they murdered." The fighters struck at the Zephyrian ship's weak points: sensor arrays, weapon systems, engine ports. They were too small and fast for the big alien guns to hit, but their weapons could disable the larger ships. On the surface of Riverside Colony, people watched the battle in amazement. They had expected to die today. Instead, they were watching the human fleet tear apart their attackers. "This is impossible," Vex High snarled as his ships exploded around him. "Humans don't fight like this. They're supposed to be weak and disorganized." "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we've lost 18 ships. The humans have lost none. How can they move so fast? How can they coordinate so perfectly?" What the Zephyrians didn't understand was that humans had been fighting wars for thousands of years before they reached the stars. They had learned to use speed and intelligence to defeat larger enemies. They had mastered the art of working together. As a team, the battle for Riverside lasted only 4 hours. When it ended, the Zephyrian fleet was destroyed. High Commander Vex High's flagship limped away with massive damage, carrying news of defeat back to Zephyrian space. But this was only the beginning. Admiral Sullivan had mobilized the entire human fleet. 200 ships, carrying the best soldiers and pilots humanity had ever produced. They moved through space like a storm, striking at Zephyrian military targets across a dozen star systems. The attack on the Zephyrian military world of Kethmer became the stuff of legend. Colonel Jake Thompson led ground forces that moved through the alien cities like ghosts. They struck at military bases, command centers, and weapon factories, but they never harmed civilians. "Remember the rules," Colonel Thompson told his soldiers. "Before each mission, military targets only. We don't murder innocents. That's what separates us from them." Navy pilot Lieutenant Sam Parker led airstrikes against Zephyrian military installations. Sam was Lisa Parker's brother, seeking revenge for his sister's death. But even in his rage, he followed human military law. Every target was confirmed military. Every strike was precise. What terrified the Zephyrians was human precision. Despite their anger, humans fought with perfect discipline. When Zephyrian civilians were caught in battle zones, human soldiers risked their lives to evacuate them. When alien wounded needed medical care, human doctors treated them alongside their own injured. High Commander Vex High watched his empire crumble from his command bunker on the Zephyrian homeworld. His officers brought him reports of defeat after defeat. "How can this be happening?" he demanded. "They're just humans. They've been in space for only 300 years. "Sir," his intelligence chief said quietly, "our analysts believe we made a fundamental error in understanding human psychology." "Explain." "We assumed humans would follow galactic military protocols, formal declarations of war, diplomatic negotiations, proportional responses. Instead, they fight like ... like predators." Vex High's scales changed color with fear. Predators? Earth was a death world, sir. Humans evolved to be apex predators. When they feel their young are threatened, they become incredibly dangerous. They don't follow our rules. They follow their instincts. As if to prove this point, another report arrived. The human fleet had destroyed the Zephyrian Second Battle Group at the Battle of Proxima Nexus. Admiral Sullivan's tactical genius had turned a Zephyrian ambush into a massacre. The Galactic Council demanded that both sides stop fighting immediately. They sent diplomatic messages and threatened sanctions. But humans ignored them completely. Ambassador Kate Morrison delivered humanity's response to the Council in person. She stood before the same chamber where she had sworn to uphold the oldest rule, and her words cut like knives. "You ask us to stop fighting," she said. "You demand that we follow your procedures and protocols. But where were your procedures when New Haven was burning? Where were your protocols when Zephyrian ships murdered 50,000 human children?" The council chamber was silent. Many of the alien representatives looked uncomfortable. "For 50,000 years, you have maintained peace through bureaucracy and compromise," Kate continued. "But you forgot the most important truth. Evil that goes unpunished becomes evil unleashed. The oldest rule means nothing if no one enforces it." Speaker Zenth tried to restore order. "Ambassador Morrison, the Council will investigate these accusations. If crimes have been committed ... If," Kate's voice rose, "if crimes have been committed, Captain Chun's evidence is clear. The Zephyrians planned genocide. They bragged about murdering our children. They called us animals that needed to be eliminated." She activated a holographic display that showed the intercepted Zephyrian communications. Vexai's voice filled the chamber, cold and arrogant, as he discussed the human problem. The reaction was immediate. Gasps and cries of horror came from the alien representatives. Even species that had been neutral suddenly looked at the Zephyrian delegation with disgust. "The evidence speaks for itself," Kate said. "The Zephyrians broke the most sacred law in the galaxy. They murdered innocents. They targeted children. And you want us to stop fighting and hold meetings while they plan to kill more of our people?" The Zephyrian ambassador tried to speak, but his words were drowned out by angry voices from other species. A carefully maintained order of the council chamber collapsed into chaos. Kate waited for quiet and delivered her final words. "Humanity will stop fighting when the Zephyrians surrender unconditionally and face justice for their crimes. The oldest rule exists for a reason. Today, humanity enforces it. As she left the chamber, Kate could hear the debates beginning. Some species supported the human position. Others called for restraint. But it didn't matter anymore. The time for talking was over. In space above the Zephyrian homeworld, Admiral Sullivan's fleet took up positions for the final battle. The message he sent to the planet below was simple and direct. This is Admiral Jack Sullivan. You have 24 hours to surrender High Commander Vex High and all officers involved in the New Haven massacre. If you refuse, we will consider your homeworld a military target. The threat was clear. Humanity had the power to destroy the Zephyrian homeworld, but they were offering one last chance for peace. The choice was up to the aliens who had started this war by murdering children. On the surface below, Vex High stared at the human fleet and finally understood his mistake. He had awakened something that should have been left sleeping. He had threatened the children of Earth's apex predators. He would learn the price of such foolishness. The Galactic Council chamber had never seen anything like this before. Emergency sessions were rare, but this one would be remembered for thousands of years. Every species in the galaxy had sent representatives. The question before them was simple. What do you do when someone breaks the oldest rule? Speaker Zenth called for order as angry voices filled the massive hall. Some aliens demanded that humans stop their attacks immediately. Others called for the Zephyrians to be punished. A few species had already withdrawn their ambassadors from Zephyrian space. The Council will hear from Ambassador Morrison. Speaker Zenth announced. Kate Morrison walked to the center platform with confidence. Behind her, holographic displays showed the evidence that Captain Maya Chun had gathered. Intercepted communications, battle recordings, and testimony from survivors painted a clear picture of Zephyrian crimes. Honored Council members, Kate began. For 50,000 years, this body has maintained peace through the oldest rule. You have all sworn to protect innocent life. You have all promised to defend the defenseless. She gestured to the evidence displays. The Zephyrians broke that sacred trust. They didn't just attack a military target. They deliberately murdered civilians. They targeted schools and hospitals. They killed children for the crime of being human. An alien that looked like a giant butterfly spoke up, but surely diplomatic. Solutions. Diplomatic solutions? Kate's voice cut through the chamber like a blade. How do you diplomatically solve murder? How do you negotiate with someone who calls your children animals that need to be eliminated? She activated another recording. High Commander Vex High's voice filled the chamber, cold and proud as he discussed his plans for human genocide. Humans expand too quickly. They breed too fast. Better to eliminate them now, while they are still small. The silence that followed was deafening. Even the most peaceful species in the galaxy looked horrified by the Zephyrian commander's words. This is what diplomacy faces, Kate continued. A species that has already decided to commit genocide. While you debate and investigate, they plan to murder more innocent families. The Zephyrian ambassador finally stood. These recordings could be fake. Humans are known for their deception and violence. Kate smiled coldly. Captain Chun, please. Enter. Maya Chun walked into the chamber carrying a small device. This is a Zephyrian military recorder, she announced. Standard equipment on all their command ships. It contains 17 hours of planning sessions for what they called human reduction protocol. She activated the device. Zephyrian voices filled the chamber, discussing which human colonies to attack first, how to make the deaths look justified, and how to manipulate the Council into inaction. The effect was devastating. Even species that had supported the Zephyrians looked away in shame. The evidence was undeniable. The oldest rule is not just a law, Kate said into the shocked silence. It's the foundation of civilized society. When someone breaks it, they attack the very idea of civilization itself. Someone has to enforce it, or it means nothing. A crystalline being chimed with a voice like breaking glass. But the human response has been disproportionate. Entire Zephyrian fleets have been destroyed. Military fleets, Kate corrected. Human forces have targeted only military installations and personnel. When Zephyrian civilians have been in danger, human soldiers have risked their lives to save them. We follow the oldest rule, even when fighting those who broke it. This was true, and everyone knew it. Reports from the battle zones all confirmed the same thing. Human forces fought with precision and discipline. They protected civilian lives, even enemy civilians. Speaker Zenth raised his 4 hands for silence. The council must make a decision. Do we condemn the human response to this tragedy? Before anyone could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed, and automated voices announced incoming ships. Display, the human fleet appeared. 200 warships surrounded Nexus Prime, led by Admiral Sullivan's flagship, but they made no threatening moves. They simply waited. Admiral Sullivan requests permission to address the council. An aide reported. Speaker Zenth hesitated, then nodded. Granted. Admiral Jack Sullivan's image appeared on the chamber's screens. His face was calm, but his eyes held the fury of a man who had lost family to murderers. Members of the Galactic Council, he began. I bring you news from Zephyrian space. High Commander Vex High has surrendered unconditionally. He and all officers involved in the New Haven massacre are now in human custody. Shocked whispers filled the chamber. The Zephyrian Empire had surrendered after only 3 weeks of fighting. The Zephyrian government has agreed to pay full reparations to the families of New Haven, Sullivan continued. They have disbanded their military expansion program and will submit to galactic oversight of their armed forces. The Zephyrian ambassador looked like he wanted to argue, but no words came. His empire's defeat was complete. However, Sullivan's voice grew harder. This tragedy has revealed a fundamental problem with galactic civilization. The oldest rule is meaningless if no one enforces it. Evil unchecked becomes evil unleashed. Kate smiled as she listened to the Admiral's words. This was what they had planned together. The military victory was only the beginning. Therefore, Sullivan announced, humanity is establishing the enforcement fleet, a rapid response force dedicated to protecting civilian populations of all species. Any government that targets innocents will face immediate intervention. The chamber erupted in debate. Some species supported the idea. Others worried about human military power. But the evidence of Zephyrian crimes was too strong to ignore. The enforcement fleet will operate under strict guidelines, Sullivan continued. We will protect the innocent. We will punish those who break the oldest rule, and we will ensure that no other species suffers the fate of New Haven. An insect-like alien spoke up. Who will watch the Watchers? How do we know humans won't abuse this power? Kate stepped forward to answer. Because we follow the same law we enforce. Any human officer who violates the oldest rule will face the same justice as any other criminal. The Council is welcome to observe all our operations. Over the following hours, the debate continued. But the outcome was never really in doubt. The galaxy had seen what happened when the oldest rule was broken. They had also seen what happened when someone actually enforced it. In the end, the Council voted to support the enforcement fleet, not unanimously, but by a large enough margin to make it official galactic policy. 6 months later, Kate Morrison stood in a very different place. The memorial park on New Haven had been rebuilt, with a wall containing the names of all 200,000 victims. Families from across human space had come to remember the dead. President Elena Rodriguez spoke to the gathered crowd. We did not want to become the galaxy's enforcers, she said. We wanted to be explorers, traders, teachers. But when civilizations Most sacred law was broken. Someone had to act. Children played in the rebuilt playground nearby. Human children, but also young aliens whose families had moved to New Haven to show their support. The alien exchange program had been expanded, with students from 50 different species. Admiral Sullivan, now commander of the enforcement fleet, watched the ceremony with mixed feelings. The fleet had already responded to 3 crises. Pirates attacking civilian transports near Rigel, a territorial dispute that threatened to target civilian colonies. A government on the Galactic Rim that tried to enslave refugees. Each time, the enforcement fleet had acted swiftly and decisively. Military targets only. Protection for civilians. Justice for those who broke the law. Captain Ryan Blake, now Sullivan's second in command, joined him at the memorial wall. Think it was worth it? He asked quietly. Sullivan touched his nephew's name on the wall. Billy Sullivan, age 8, who had died dreaming of flying spaceships. Ask me in 50 years, he said, when children across the galaxy can sleep safely, because they know someone is watching over them. As the ceremony ended, Kate Morrison looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the enforcement fleet patrolled the dark spaces between worlds. Human ships crewed by humans who remembered New Haven. Ships that carried a simple message to anyone who might threaten the innocent. We are watching. We are ready. And we will never forget. The oldest rule was still the foundation of galactic civilization. But now it had teeth. Now it had enforcement. And anyone who thought about breaking it would have to face the one species that had learned the hard way. What happened when evil went unpunished? The age of human diplomacy was over. The age of human protection had begun. And the galaxy, despite its fears and doubts, was safer because of it. High Commander Vexhai sat in his prison cell on Luna Station, guarded by human soldiers who treated him with professional courtesy, but no mercy. He had learned too late that humans were not like other species. They did not forget. They did not forgive crimes against their children. And they never stopped protecting the innocent. He had broken the oldest rule in the galaxy. And humanity had made him pay. The lesson would not be forgotten. Across the stars, in the dark spaces where evil might hide, potential tyrants and murderers looked up at the night sky and knew that someone was watching. Someone who would come for them if they crossed the line. Someone who remembered New Haven